Hello and welcome to this edition of Live Like a Girl TV. I am Shanks, and I am very excited to announce our incredibly special, wonderful, strong, beautiful, intelligent, phenomenal guest.
Keep going, keep going.
Don't stop! Just
Don't stop. Were you saying something?
Miss Molly Galbraith. She is the owner of mollygalbraith.com. And she is co-founder of the incredible group Girls Gone Strong. And thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Nia. I'm really, really excited to be on here.
Well, thank you. We're so excited to have you. And we got tons of great information we're going to cover today. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right in.
Let's dive right in. Let's do
it. All right. The first thing I want to talk about is this is something you actually posted a while ago on your website. How basically you were talking about how it's hard to be a fit girl, how there's so much pressure to having this certain body image, and just kind of your journey with that. And I think it's something that's actually, it's applicable to women in general, not just, personal trainers, how, we feel pressured to have this look and to maintain a certain look all year round. So would you please just, share your journey about that, the lessons you learned, and basically, kind of what you discovered at the end of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So It's Hard Out Here for a Fit Chick was published almost a year ago, and it was kind of a culmination of my whole life story almost. So I was pretty active growing up. I was a gymnast. I was a cheerleader. At the end of high school, beginning of college, I became very sedentary, gained a significant amount of weight, and in 2004 decided I wanted to get in shape. And I didn't know what that meant. I just knew it sounded good. And everything in my life was going well. My job was going well. School was going well. Family, friends, everything, but the one thing that I was unhappy with was how I looked and how I felt. And that's what you have so much control over for the most part, right? You can't control your bosses or your friends or your professors or whatever, but you can control what you eat and what you do with your body. So I decided to kind of get in shape. I didn't really know what that meant, but over the next, I guess 10 years, over the last 10 years, I've competed in figure, I've dabbled in powerlifting a little bit. I've opened a gym, and I've helped start Girls Gone Strong and mollygalbraith.com, and I've put my videos on YouTube, and I've kind of really put myself out there through articles, my blog, other websites, interviews, podcasts, and kind of put myself out there as a fitness professional. And over the years, I've had lots of ups and downs with the way that my body looks, my body shape, my size, my weight. After I did 3 pretty consecutive figure competitions in 2006, 7, and 8. After the last one in 2008, my body totally rebelled. I gained a ton of weight despite eating a really good diet and exercising. And I went to the doctor, and I have Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune hypothyroidism. I have PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I have adrenal dysfunction. So there's a feedback loop issue to my brain and my adrenals. So I had this triple whammy of things that were making me gain all this weight. And here I am, I'm supposed to be a fitness professional, and my body is so out of my control. It's devastating. And people would literally say things to me like, "What? Are you still working out? What is wrong? Why do you look like that?" I got messages saying, "Why don't you look the way that you used to look in your YouTube videos?" And yeah, people literally feeling the need to reach out and ask what's going on with my body. So I competed in powerlifting in 2009 because at that point in time I was like, if my goal right now has anything to do with aesthetics, I'm just going to be so disappointed, so devastated because it felt so out of my control. So I decided to, have performance be my goal. Did that in 2009, and then for the last 3 or 4 years, it's kind of been, I wouldn't say a roller coaster necessarily, but I kind of started working with a doctor, got my weight and body fat levels under control from the Hashimoto's, and then in 2012, my dad passed away unexpectedly. Then I got out of a 6-year relationship, so it's just one thing after the other. And in 2013, I found myself at an all-time high for my weight. And it was so hard because I was still eating pretty well. I was still working out, a bit, but my focus had been on my emotional health for the last year or two and not on my physical health. And I felt like so many people were being really judgmental of my body. And so I just was talking about, for me, where I feel best is when I can find a intersection of health, performance, aesthetics, and lifestyle, where I'm not sacrificing too much of one for the other, but there are times in your life where you do have to do that. When my dad passed away, I had to focus on, my mental and emotional health. When I had Hashimoto's, I had to focus on my physical health. When I was getting ready for powerlifting, I'm focusing on my performance. When I'm in Italy with my family for 2 weeks, I'm focusing on my lifestyle, So there's this, I ate gelato like 3 times a day. So there's this global goal of looking good and feeling good and strong, but figuring out where that axis is. And I see a lot of women struggling, especially personal trainers, especially women who've done figure competitions and stuff. I know you've talked about issues with disordered eating in the past where you feel like you maybe can't control what you're eating or can't control what you're doing, or your body doesn't look exactly the way that you think it's supposed to look. And it's really devastating because there's a lot of judgment placed upon people who are supposed to be fit or who are in the fitness industry, or especially who have competed in something like figure or fitness, because people feel like, I guess, they put their bodies out there to be judged, and so then they have a right. I mean, it's amazing, the girls I talk to, the stories they tell me about what people say to them about their bodies. I just don't get why people are so obsessed with other people's bodies. But It's Hard Out Here for a Fit Chick was just kind of about that journey and how my weight had fluctuated over the years and my experience with it, and just learning to be comfortable in my own skin. Because even at 180 pounds or whatever, 183 pounds that I was last year, I was still fit. I was still very in shape. I still looked good. I just wasn't, I didn't have veins in my lower abs. It was just like, there's this kind of, I think, pressure on especially female fitness professionals, on males as well, but especially female fitness professionals, to be so lean and so shredded, to look like that, Fitspo poster or whatever. Like, I wear black because, it's a funeral for my fat or whatever, or like go hard and go. Have you seen that?
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, I wear black because exercise is a funeral for my fat or something. I mean, it's just,
that one. Wow.
Yeah. Hilarious stuff, but there are things like go hard or go home, beast mode, no days off, and like it's this girl who's just like unbelievably shredded with veins in her abs and like sweat dripping off of her. It's like you think that that's what you're supposed to look like as a fitness professional, and that's not maintainable or sustainable for most people. And I just think it's very, it's heartbreaking to watch how harshly we judge ourselves because we don't look exactly like that.
Yeah, well, along that journey, kind of. From where you're at now, is there anything in particular that you did that you found helpful to kind of help you to realize, okay, I don't want to necessarily try to look like that 24/7, because like you said, being in figure shape, I've never personally done a figure competition, so I don't know what it's like to attain that level of leanness and to feel the need to constantly maintain it. Is there something that you did that helped you transition from thinking, okay, I'm comfortable looking like this year round. I'm happy with, with how I look, even though I may not be shredded or whatever. Is there something that you've helped kind of find you get to that point to where you're just happy how you are, to where it's a better balance of like you said, emotional, physical, and kind of lifestyle health?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, my weight had kind of fluctuated. I'm most comfortable around about 165. I mean, I'm almost 5'11". That's generally where I'm most comfortable. I don't pay a ton of attention to the scale. For me, it doesn't. I've only had a couple meltdowns related to the scale over the years, so in general, it's pretty good. It's just kind of, for me, just a piece of information. So, I don't say that everyone should use it, and I don't say that no one should use it. It's just kind of again, another piece of the puzzle. But that's where I know I feel pretty good most of the time, and that's about where I am right now. So it was funny because it was this combination of like when I was able to accept what my body looked like, and when I've had some big kind of revelations with food over the last year in terms of moderation. I mean, the weight, in combination with a little bit of stress, I'm not going to lie about that, a little bit of stress, and being able to train more. I've suffered from back pain for the last couple of years, and that's been getting a lot better. So being able to train more, coming to a place of kind of acceptance and compassion for my body, being under a little bit of stress, and having some big revelations with food. I mean, I'm back down to like 163 now. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten to a point where I have places where, like I said, maybe where I prefer my body. Maybe I feel a little bit more comfortable in my skin at 165 versus 180. But I know that, number one, my self-worth is not wrapped up in what I weigh, which I think is so huge. And I practice love and compassion towards my body on a daily basis. I think a lot of people, they don't know how to start loving their body. And it's like with anything else, it takes practice and repetition. And you fake it until you make it. The first time everyone squats, I mean, their squat looks pretty awful for the most part, but they do it, and they keep doing it, and they keep doing it, and keep doing it until it looks better. And so it's the only way you get better at anything is practice and repetition. And So I just started kind of making sure that that my self-talk was positive, that I was removing, negative or toxic people from my life, that that I was just being really good to myself, that I was going to the gym because I wanted to do something good for my body instead of going to the gym to to punish myself. It's that whole kind of train because you love your body, not because you hate your body thing that we talk about at Girls Gone Strong. It's all of those things helped. That's one of the reasons I put together a 28-day Love Your Body challenge on my website. I launched that March 3rd, but it's a self-guided thing, and you can go through the challenge at any time. But it's a short blog post. It's a daily mantra, so something you repeat to yourself over and over again, and it's an action step. So you say this mantra over and over. You complete the action step. It could be something as small as writing down one external feature and one internal feature that you find really beautiful about yourself, to writing a letter to your younger self, to writing down a list of things that you're really good at. I mean, it's everything. So the Love Your Body challenge focuses on everything from being strong to feeling beautiful to feeling capable to realizing that your existence is a miracle. Every single one of us, we're not here by accident. You can look at life as though nothing is a miracle or everything is a miracle. I gave that quote to Albert Einstein, by the way. He totally stole it from me, that asshole. No, and so but I love that quote, and so there are so many different reasons to love your body, external and internal, and so that's kind of what the Love Your Body challenge does. And the thing that I like about that is that I had people take a kind of a quiz, asking them questions about how they felt about their body at the beginning, and then had them do it at the end, so they can see an actual, quantitative, measurable improvement in how they're thinking and feeling about themselves. It's kind of like when you see yourself in the mirror every day, you don't realize how much your body's changed until you see the before and after picture. It was this gave them oh, I was a 28 out of 100 and now I'm a 68 out of 100. That's huge, and we had women make improvements like that. But it's this daily practice of being kind to yourself, being really conscious of your thoughts. So many women are like, I didn't realize how much I said about myself, or I didn't realize that I talked badly about myself until I heard my 4-year-old daughter say, I'm so fat, and they're like, oh my gosh, she got that from me, right? And then and coming to a good place with food, and realizing that if you're gonna, it's not an all or nothing, and if you're gonna eat carbs, it doesn't mean you have to eat all the carbs. That's how I used to do it. Was just this kind of on or off the wagon, and if I was gonna eat, I was gonna eat, and now it's just kind of this 24/7 more moderation thing that's been working really well.
And I really like how you said, this is a process, and that's something I try to explain to people. We don't develop habits, having a negative body image where we kind of beat ourselves up, or we have these really high expectations of how we think we should look. We don't develop those overnight. We don't just wake up one morning and think, I have to look like this, I have to be perfect. It's something that we develop over time, and that's something that I try to tell people too. Getting beyond, kind of a negative body image and certain habits, it's not going to happen overnight either. And I love how you presented that challenge, and you said, it kind of sucks in a way. You have to be patient, and you do have to do some work. You can't just get rid of those thoughts and wake up the next day and be like, oh, I love my body, I'm going to eat because I love my body and work out because I love my body. It's unfortunate that it's going to take some work, but I love how you presented that challenge. And in a way, it is simple. You just have to make a conscious effort to be mindful of what you say to yourself, how you perceive yourself.
And you fake it until you make it. That's literally the only way to do it. If you don't love your body right now, you're going to have to act as if. You're going to have to talk to yourself as if. And again, it's that practice and repetition. Same thing, again, with working out or losing body fat or learning how to eat better. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a slow process. You could see some great results in a month, but you're not going to get to where you want to be in a month. We're all kind of on this journey, and somebody said, I want to be where you are, and I'm like, girl, I'm here now, but I am not there yet. I don't know where there is, and I don't know if any of us ever get there, right? We still, almost everyone I know still has the occasional meltdown over the way they look, or they're not as strong as they want to be, or they're not getting in the gym as much as they want to, and they're stressed out, So for me, it's just it's realizing this is where I am in my journey. It's a really good place, and there's a chance that at some point in my life I will stray off of this. And if I do, I need to realize what got me there, figure out how to fix it and get back. But it's all about this practice and repetition. It's not, you know, again, going back to the squat example, you wouldn't squat 3 days a week for a month and then think you never needed to squat again. You know, like, it's something that you keep doing.
I'm done.
Done for life. Or like brushing your teeth. You're not like, well, I did that 3 times last month, so I'm good. Maybe some people do. I think I've seen some people who do. I think I used to work with a guy like that. But yeah, you don't do that a couple times per month and be done with it. It's a daily practice. You know, it's something that needs to be worked into your life on a really regular basis to where it just becomes second nature. And I love what you said about habits. We had an article on Girls Gone Strong recently about motivation versus habits, and how motivation is an emotion. And if you're doing something because you feel really motivated to do it, like, that can't last forever. You can't maintain this intense level of emotion all the time unless you don't have anything else going on anywhere else. You know, you have to have some of that emotional energy and that kind of willpower to expend on other things occasionally. And so she was talking about how, you know, motivation's great, but it's not what's gonna lead you home. It's not what's gonna work for you all day, every day for the rest of your life. It's literally just developing new habits, one habit at a time until it becomes second nature, until it becomes effortless. 10 years ago, I never thought about when I was gonna eat. I always thought about what fast food restaurant I was gonna eat at, not what protein I was gonna eat. You know, and like now, whenever I think about a meal, my first thing I think of is what kind of protein do I want? Do I want eggs? Do I want chicken? Do I want beef? Like, that's the first thing, and then I build the rest of my meal around it. It doesn't take any willpower or effort anymore. It's just what I do because I've done it for so long. And that's just one example, but there are tons of examples of, you know, how do you change this one habit until it becomes so effortless you don't think about it and it doesn't require willpower anymore.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so great about, you know, the message that y'all put forward, and also kind of the, you know, some of the stuff I tie in. It's about, like I said, you really want to develop sustainable habits. You know, anybody can do a crash diet or something, but that's not going to help you have a lifetime of habits to turn on. I recently went through that. I don't know if you ever go through phases where working out just isn't as exciting as it used to be. I mean, starting several months ago, I actually started to hate working out, and some people think it's crazy. Like, how do you hate working out? You have, you know, it's what you do. You have a home gym. Like, I just got to the point where, seriously, I'd go out in my home gym and I'd be like, I just don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it.
It was pathetic. I actually would get to the point where I was whining, but, you know, I kind of got in that habit and I changed up what I was doing. You know, I literally would go out to my gym and do one set of 3 exercises and call that done.
Yes.
But I needed to do something, and I made sure it was still a habit. Right. But I made sure it took, you know, no more than 10 minutes, and finally, after months, that's what I do almost every day now. But I'm getting to the point where I'm actually starting to enjoy, you know, training again and starting to have these certain goals. And I think, like you said, it's because we made it a point to develop habits. Because I don't have the motivation to go out and you know, like, yeah, I'm going to go out and see how much stronger I got. Because right now, I don't freaking care. I just want to, you know, have those habits where I keep being healthy and doing things. I think that's, like you said, it's really important that we do these things kind of on a daily basis, and it's a lot of a mindset thing.
Well, and it's you know, it's funny that you say that, because there was almost 2 years there where I was having a lot of back pain issues, and going to the gym was not fun. I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I couldn't squat. I couldn't deadlift. Sometimes tying my shoes freaking hurt. Like, going to the gym sucked. Like, I couldn't do kettlebell swings. I couldn't do, and it's just like this miserable. And this was kind of also coinciding a little bit with me carrying more body fat. So I remember shortly after I said my dad passed away at the beginning of 2012. I got out of a 6-year relationship in September of 2012. And that changed my whole life. We had a business together. We lived together. I mean, everything. My whole life was turned upside down. I was 28 years old. I moved back home with my parents. I mean, it was just like, oh, what's going on with my life, you know? And I actually did have a meltdown one Sunday night eating peanut butter M&Ms, watching the Susie Orman show, because I didn't know how to. My parents have this big fancy TV with all these remotes, and I didn't know how to change the channel, and so I couldn't get off the Susie Orman show. And she's talking about like financial responsibility, and I'm like, I just lost my business, and I just live at home with my parents, and I was just like shoving my mouth full of peanut butter M&Ms and crying to Susie Orman, and so. It was just because I didn't know how to change the damn channel on the remote. There's like 700 buttons. But a couple months after that, I went to Baltimore and met with Nagar and Allie, and I stepped on the scale for the first time when I moved out of my ex-boyfriend's house. He got the scale in the relationship. He kept the scale. And so I didn't have one at my parents' house, so it had been like 3 months since we broke up. and I went to Baltimore to meet with the girls, and we were at the gym, and I decided to step on the scale, and I stepped on the scale, and that's when I realized it was the biggest number I had seen in almost 10 years. My back is killing me. You know, my weight is through the roof. I'm emotionally like a disaster, and I walk out into the middle of Allie's gym and just like lay on the turf and start crying, and I'm like, oh, I don't even deserve to be part of something called Girls Gone Strong, because they're doing like weighted chin-ups and weighted pistols and stuff, and I'm like doing like rock back breathing and dead bug and stuff for my back, and I'm just like, it was awful. It was so awful. And so for the next year and a half, I had a really hard time wanting to get in the gym because I felt like there was nothing I could do. And so eventually I realized that I could do Turkish get-ups, and the Turkish get-ups felt really good on my back, and I felt strong, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do a 90-pound Turkish get-up. I've never seen another woman, I've seen 88 pounds, I've never seen another woman do a 90-pound. So I decided to focus on that for a little while because it was something I could do. It was something that I could possibly achieve. It was something I could work towards. I felt like it was a, kind of an exciting goal for me because it was something I hadn't done before. I got to 80 pounds. My shoulders started giving me fits a little bit. But yeah, so it kind of gave me a little bit of a renewed sense of training. And so there were times there where I was only getting in the gym twice a week, and it was just because, again, I was maintaining a habit, but it was all I could kind of muster for the moment. And I did a poll actually on Girls Gone Strong and on my Facebook the other day asking people, for those of you that have worked out for longer than 10 years, how many days, or for longer than 5 years, I'm sorry, how many days a week do you work out? And, of course, there are the outliers. There's the 2 days a week and there's the 6 days a week, but pretty much everybody said 3 to 5 days a week, usually 3 to 4. But the biggest comment that I got was, well, it's this many in the summer and it's this many in the winter, or it used to be this or now it's that. But the whole point was everyone was adjusting the frequency of their training based on what was going on in their life. And I thought that was, I wasn't even expecting that to be the common denominator, this big, like, it's like, when you're not expecting to have this aha moment and then you have it, like, that was the big thing. It wasn't how many days a week they trained. I expected the aha moment to be how many days a week they trained, which was about 3, I figured, for most people. But it wasn't. The aha moment was everyone said, just about that commented, that they changed their frequency and their type of training based on what's going on in their life. Whether they're hiking more in the summer or whether they are, they can hardly get themselves out of bed in the winter so they can only get there twice a week or whatever, they were changing the frequency of their training based on what was going on in their life, and that's what allowed them to maintain it and sustain it over a long period of time.
Well, I think, and there's so much power in that story that you just shared. I mean, like I said, life is not perfect. We're going to have circumstances that we don't plan for. There's going to be oh crap moments. And there's so much power in what you shared because, like you said, you had a lot of tough things that you had to go through, and you had to find a way to get through them. And even something like you said, from how you used to train to you couldn't do that stuff anymore. But I love that the fact that you said you found an exercise, the freaking Turkish get up, you can do it for free. And you found a way to stay excited. Like, well, fine, this may be what I can do, but by God, I'm going to get stronger at it, and I'm going to do something awesome with it. Like I said, if somebody would have told you a year or two ago that you're going to have the goal of a 90-pound Turkish get-up, you probably would have laughed.
Yeah, oh yeah, I was like, I don't even really do Turkish get-up.
It's awesome, though, that you're like, this is what I can do right now, and by God, I'm gonna be awesome at it. And I think that's so cool because life is going to throw you curveballs, and you're going to have times in your life where you can't go to the gym 3 days a week, or you can't do the lifts you're used to doing. And it's either, some people may respond with, well, I'm not going to do anything, or they can do what you did and say, this is what I can do at this moment, and I'm going to be grateful that I can do this, and I'm going to keep doing it. And I think that's friggin' awesome.
Yeah, well, it's just been, and again, it's all been this kind of like self-discovery thing, right? Like, I didn't know that that's what was going to happen. It was by necessity. It's like, I'm sure for you at times, like, strength training has kind of been like, this thing that helps keep you sane, or a good outlet, or it's just something that it's so good for our bodies. And even when you don't want to do it, you generally feel so good when you're done, and it's just kind of by necessity. Like, I need to figure out something I can do with my body that's going to make me happy, that's going to feel good, that's going to keep me motivated, and that was it. It's like, I love keeping up with Jen Comas-Keck on Facebook. Like, you never know if she's going to be like twirling on some silks, or like swinging around a pole, or if she's riding her motorcycle, or mountain biking, or whatever she's going to be doing. But it's that, I'm sure if you asked her like 4 years ago, hey, are you deadlifting so that you can swing around a pole better? She would probably be saying, No, but it's something that she found that she loves to do, that makes her really happy, and I'm sure scares the bejesus out of everyone in Somerset, Kentucky. um, but it's just something. It's like you find what you love at the moment, what keeps you excited, it gets you going, and like you said, you're starting to like kind of get the itch to like to train again, and it's like you don't beat yourself up over it. It's just, this is what's going on in your life for whatever reason, and then and then you go on. And that's what it was Mike Teixeira I heard say, think about training in months and years, not in days and weeks. Like, I don't care if you miss a training session today or tomorrow. Are you going to be in the gym working out, taking care of yourself 5 years from now? Like, and I think, again, people beat themselves up. It feels so overwhelming. How am I going to work out 6 days a week for the next 60 years? Like, you don't have to. You have, you work out 2 days a week, or 2 hours a week or whatever for the next. Like, that's something so much more achievable and less intimidating, I think, for the average person.
Exactly. Like I said, it's all about being flexible, because some people may think they have this perfect routine. Like I said, oh, I'm going to work out 5 days a week no matter what. But life will throw you something unexpected, and having a flexible schedule or flexible habits that you can fit into your life is just super crucial.
Well, and for me too, figuring out other places to find your significance. This is actually a blog post that I'm working on, and I have struggled with this, and it's still something that I'm working on, but not placing all of my personal significance in what I can do at the gym. For a while it was easy to place it in being like that really lean girl, the girl who does figure competitions, or that crazy girl who works out all the time, who brings her food with her to class, and is taking these supplements and whatever. You get attention for it, and I see this in so many women. Maybe they lose a lot of weight, or they've always been the athlete or whatever, but they place so much of their self-worth and their significance in what they do in the gym and what they do for their training. And it's like, if they get injured or if they have to take some time off or whatever, they almost lose who they are, right? Like, everyone knows you as Nia Shanks, beautiful badass, lift like a girl, the no nonsense, like sane and simple, like everybody knows you as that. Like, if something happened in that and you weren't identifying with that anymore, like, can you be comfortable? Like, are there other things in your life that help you feel significant so that you don't lose a piece of yourself? And so when I see women who are like, well, I work out 6 days a week, and in the morning I do this, in the evening I do this, I'm like, whoa, what are we, like, I get it, you probably love working out, but like, what else is going on? You know what I mean? Like, what makes you feel like you have to do these things? Because when I say you'll probably get better results if we pull back a little bit, but I can't. Well, you're not getting the results you want now, so let's try something different. They're like, but I can't, and it's that they have put so much of their significance in being that person that goes to the gym so much and works out, like such a, like such a fiend, and they get so much attention for it that it's almost like they don't know who they are if they're not doing that in the gym. And I think I've seen that as a reason for a lot of women being scared to slow down and do less.
Well, that, like you said too, because then if you're doing that, and I've been there, I was also known as my love of deadlifting, and then I hurt my back, and I couldn't deadlift anymore. And at first, it scared me, it devastated me, because I was on a goal. I had this goal of a triple body weight.
I remember.
I was close. Well, 45 pounds, but it was, so close but so far away. And then when my back got hurt, I couldn't. At first, it shocked me. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't deadlift. I mean, that's what got me excited to go to the gym, was to pull a heavy bar off the floor. And I never thought I would be able to deadlift. Right. And then I had no choice but to shift to training a different way. And I had to go to freaking dumbbells and body weight exercises. And at first, it scared me, because I was like, I want to lift a heavy bending barbell. That's what's good for me. And that's how I identified myself. So at first, it was scary, because, but over time, it was kind of like what you had to do. I had to realize, I can do pull-ups and single leg bodyweight exercises pain-free. It may not be the most exciting thing, and I didn't plan to have to transition to this,
right.
But I found a way to be able to make that fun. And like I said, it just, you got to be able to take what life throws at you and adapt.
Yeah.
Well, all right, Molly, let's let's transition over to talking about nutrition.
I was saying, have we only covered one question, really? Because I think we have.
Okay, no, it's all good stuff. We might break out like a little random dance scene. Who knows? I mean, it's crazy thing happens. Anyway.
Sorry for that interlude, guys.
No, you have to make noise so the camera shows on you. Now do it.
What?
Do you need to turn your lights on and off so you can have a little strobe light going?
Yeah, too far away. But.
All right. I wanted to ask you about something that you posted. You posted this recently on the Girls Gone Strong Facebook page, and I identified with this so much because so many years ago, I mean, this was me in the middle of my disordered eating. You had said that sometimes we worry so much about bad or forbidden foods that we don't even stop to think if we really want them to begin with, meaning we may think, oh my God, cake! Oh, there's cake! And we don't even stop to think if we really want it. We just think we want it because we have it labeled as off limits.
Right.
And then you went on to say how we have negative feelings and emotions about food and shame. And I just wanted to see if you could kind of elaborate on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I see that happen a lot. I just started with a group of women doing like a group coaching with them, and I found this in almost all of their like questionnaires when they answered. They all have this, this all or nothing mindset, or this like on or off the wagon mindset. I posted something else too that said like you're never off the wagon until you die, because when you die you can no longer have the opportunity to make a better choice the next day. So again, people use this kind of excuse or whatever. I'm on the wagon or I'm off the wagon. If I'm off the wagon, who cares? I'm just going to eat whatever I want and wait till I get back on. Versus if you think about you're never off the wagon, you just always have an opportunity to make a better choice, or a choice that maybe isn't as good, and learning from why you didn't make that choice, or thinking it's fine. I mean, there's some points in time when eating nachos and pizza and beer is a perfectly fine and acceptable choice, and there's no guilt or shame. You shouldn't even begin to feel badly about it, or even think that it wasn't a good choice. But yeah, I think that people use this on and off the wagon thing as a an excuse to go for long periods of time without eating well. But so I've been obsessed with food for as long as I can remember. My mom couldn't find me one time for a couple hours, and I was hiding behind the couch, and I was like halfway through my 4th stick of butter. Okay, I had like 3 butter wrappers, and I was like halfway through my 4th, and I was like looking at her like getting ready to eat my 4th stick. She also, all the spoons in the house used to disappear, and she would find them in the Bisquick box, the box of Bisquick batter, like the dry mix. I would just eat it with a spoon. Like, I always joke, but it's totally true. When people tell me they're engaged, I'm like, that's amazing. I wonder what kind of food they're going to have at their wedding, and if I'm invited. And so, like, I've literally been obsessed with food for a really long time. And so I'd find myself eating things that were not good for me, but they also weren't delicious either. And especially because I used to do the cheat day thing. I'd be like 6.5 days of eating really clean, whatever that means, and then this half cheat day or this full cheat day or whatever. And I'd find myself like cramming my mouth full of all these different foods, or eating foods when I literally couldn't even taste them anymore. Like downing a pint of ice cream, like your mouth is numb halfway through. Like you can't taste it, I promise. Like put the ice cream down, and the ice cream is so good. Your mouth is freaking numb. You can't even taste it anymore. Or taking like huge bites of things. I love chips and queso, and I would go to a restaurant and I'd eat chips and queso, but I'd eat like, this chip would be like this big, and I'd like shove the whole thing in my mouth. Like, why not just break it into like 3 or 4 smaller pieces? You know what I mean? And still get the taste of the whatever that you're desiring without shoving the whole thing in your mouth. And so, or at the movies, I'd get popcorn because it was my cheat day, and I'd be shoving like, 1,000 calories of stale popcorn in my mouth when like I would have enjoyed something else much better. And so I've just kind of gotten to the point now where I really, if I am going to eat something that's, not considered quote unquote healthy, then I ask myself, like, do I really want it? And if I do, then I have some, and then I stop when it doesn't taste as good as the, Nagar Fanuni has the law of first bite. So the first bite law, she's like, when whatever you're eating doesn't taste as good as it did on the first bite, like, stop eating it, And because again, like for most people, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bites is going to be enough. They don't need to eat the whole cake or, you know, the entire pizza or whatever, because eventually you just stop, you know, your body, again, it's like the ice cream, your mouth goes numb, you can't taste it anymore. So I eat what I want of something, and then I stop when I'm satisfied. And, you know, if it's late at night and my boyfriend's eating ice cream, he's like, hey, do you want some ice cream? And I think about, well, no, actually, I don't want some ice cream. I'm good. You know, and so it's this, and Jill Coleman's another good one. She talks about the abundance mindset. Like, if you think about, like, any food is there at pretty much any time, always, and you can always have it if you want it. If it's not off limits, if it's always available to you, you'll find that you don't really want it. And so I just think that having those thoughts about food, you know, the food is always there. You can eat whatever you want at any given time, but to really pay attention to whether or not it actually sounds good to you, and to make sure that when you are having things like that, that they are, you know, again, high quality and delicious. I was in Vegas a few months ago, and we went to a Cirque du Soleil show, and I got some popcorn, and I had a couple bites, and it was awful. And so I looked at my boyfriend like, will you take this back? I don't want this. Will you give me something different? And so he went back and got me these potato chips that were delicious. You know, and so instead of eating a bag of stale popcorn that didn't satisfy me at all, I had a bag of potato chips that were, you know, fresh and good, and I really enjoyed them. And so, and I'm doing the same kind of thing with my coaching group. These women, you know, a woman's husband brought her ice cream the other day, and she's like, I really didn't want it, so I didn't have any, and I didn't feel, and you don't feel deprived. It becomes a choice instead of like a, can I have this? Do I deserve this? Have I worked hard enough for this? You know what I mean? Am I going to be bad if I have this? It's just removing those labels of people all the time like, I'm so bad, I had this for dinner. And, you know, you would think that at some point it would stop, but I mean, I was at like an Easter brunch with my grandmother and a bunch of her friends maybe a year and a half ago, and these women are between 65 and 85, and one of them was like, oh, you're so good, you just eat like a bird, and the other one's like, I'm being such a pig, I'm having cake. I mean, they're 85, like, please, dear God, I hope I'm not thinking about that when I'm 85. Like, value judging and shaming my friends for eating cake versus eating a salad, and they're still doing it. Still doing it at that age, love their hearts, you know, because they place whether or not they're being good or bad on what they're eating. It's just like, and again, people, I know Go Kaleo talks about this a lot. Amber talks about, like, why are people so obsessed with what other people are eating? You know, like, and it's generally because they've kind of got some self-judgment or things going on themselves instead of just, like, not worrying about it. You know, like, why do you care what anyone else is eating?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm like you, I love food. I mean, there are some people that are diehard, they're legitimately able to say, you know, food is just fuel for me. They don't care how it tastes. They'll eat it literally for fuel. And I said, I am not like that.
No.
I've never been like that. I freaking love food. I make sure I enjoy what I eat. And I tell people, you know,
I've been out to eat with you. I know you love food.
like, yeah, man. But, like, that's the great thing is there are so many, you know, delicious, healthy foods that are good for me, that I enjoy, that I eat. But I said, I have a list of certain foods that are, you know, healthy. I don't enjoy them, so I'm not going to eat them just because they're healthy. There are plenty of other healthy foods that taste good to me. I'll eat those. Yeah. And the same thing with, you know, junk food or whatever. There are some things that, you know, way back when in my disordered eating, like you said, you know, I would eat them because I had them labeled as off limits. So if they were around, I would just shove it in, even though I didn't even like how it tasted.
Yeah.
When it comes to, you know, kind of junk foods, if I really want it, I'm finally to that point in my body, I can ask myself, like you were saying, you know, do I want this? Does this actually taste good to me? Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't, I'm not tempted by it. But if it's something that's freaking delicious, heck yeah, man, I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to enjoy it guilt-free. And I think that's such an awesome perspective to have.
Well, and you're then able to, like, actually take the time and find out when you're satisfied by it. When you're in that mindset of, like, I have to have it because it's off limits, the idea of being satisfied with it never even crosses your mind. I mean, I remember being literally in physical pain because my stomach hurt so much from eating so much, and I couldn't stop. Because at 12:01 a.m. it was no longer my cheat day or whatever, or staying up till 3 or 4 in the morning eating because I didn't go to sleep so that my cheat day wasn't over, you know, and just literally being in pain, shoving this food in my mouth because the next day it was off limits and I wasn't allowed to have it anymore.
And that's one of the reasons that I quit doing cheat days a long time ago, and even rigid intermittent fasting, because I found myself doing that. Either if it was a cheat day I would cram anything that was off limits in my face just because it was the cheat day, and I knew I'd have to wait another week to have it again. Or I found myself starting to do that with intermittent fasting. You know, it was my feeding window. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm gonna have to start fasting in a few minutes. I'm not really hungry, but I better eat while I can because then I have no choice but to, you know, have to fast again.
Right.
And, you know, I just have this kind of personality that I'm so. If I have rules, I get really obsessive about them, and that's kind of why I stopped doing intermittent fasting for me. It's just because of my personality. You know, some people don't have that problem.
Yeah.
And but that's why I say when it comes to nutrition especially, I kind of encourage people just to have a few kind of basic guidelines and then say tailor it to yourself. Because, you know, I'm a disaster when I have rules. I mean, it just it spins me out. I mean, is that
do what?
Is that kind of something that you've seen, that if you have these kind of it's easy to go overboard?
Yeah, I don't do as well with rules because then again I feel like if I'm not following them exactly, then what the hell, you know what I mean? So throw them out the door. So I find that moderation just makes a lot more sense for me in the long term. And again, adapting it, like I actually do fast a lot in the mornings just because I don't really want to or like to eat first thing in the morning. I usually have a few cups of coffee and then I'm good until like early afternoon. But yesterday morning I went to like a brunch breakfast place with my family, and I had an omelet and some breakfast potatoes. You know, like I'm not gonna, like, because I was there in that setting. I was actually a little hungry. I hadn't had very much coffee. I was a little hungry. It smelled good. It tasted good. You know, it sounded good, and so I had it. And then it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm not intermittent fasting anymore. I'm off the wagon. Like I just ate an omelet and didn't really think anything about it. That was at about like 11:30 that I had that, and then I found myself. I wasn't really even hungry again until about 5:30, so I just ate then, and if I had been hungry, I would have eaten. But yeah, so it's just kind of finding it and just not stressing about it, just kind of relaxing a little bit more and monitoring, you know, what's going on with my my weight and my body fat levels and such. And if it starts to go up a little bit, then I, pay a little bit more attention and tighten things up, or maybe, intensify my workouts a little bit at the gym. But just make these small modifications and, just realizing that you're never, that's the other thing about the wagon, you're never too far gone. You're never too far gone to get back on the wagon, even though you're never really off the wagon anyway. But people think that, they think that they've gone too far and what they've done is irreversible, and it's just not. And so I realized, oh, okay, well, my weight's up a couple pounds, so, what's going on? What have I been doing? Oh, I was traveling, and then I was doing this and that. And so just kind of tighten things back up a little bit and, be a little even more mindful maybe than I was before, and get back to where I feel most comfortable. And then, so just making small adjustments. That's another thing. People think that changing small habits isn't going to do anything. And so, like, one woman in my coaching group was like, well, I couldn't really, because initially I gave them kind of nutrition plans to follow. Ideally, they would just start changing, like, small habits over time, but I knew these women did not pay me to tell them to start drinking more water, and that's all they were going to get for the first week, right? Like, that's not what they want. So I gave them a plan that was based on kind of what they told me that would help them be successful, and then over, I'm helping them kind of, like you said, modify the plan over time to figure out what works for them. And what we're doing really is working on building habits. But she said, well, I was able to kind of stick to my plan pretty well during the week, and then on the weekend it was probably only about 50%. And what's wrong with me? And I said, are you doing better than you did last week? And she's like, oh my gosh, tons better. And I'm like, I would rather have a 1% improvement every week for the next year than have you do everything perfectly and then crash and burn. And people always think that changing one small habit at a time isn't enough. But it's like, it's better than you were doing last week. And if it becomes a sustainable habit, then 5 years from now, or 1 year from now, or 6 months from now, you're going to be doing significantly better rather than constantly being on or off, on or off, on or off. Because you've been doing this for 15 years and you're still not where you want to be. Think about if 15 years ago you started changing one small habit at a time, would you be where you want to be now?
Yeah, and I think that's really the difference. And heck, I've been there, when I was in my disordered eating, and I had got up to, about 145 or something, which, I had gone from 115, was my normal weight to 145. So for me, that was a big difference, and it freaked me out, and I wanted to lose that weight now. I wanted to wake up tomorrow and have that crap gone. And so I got into this pattern of working out twice a day for hours, trying to diet hardcore because I was freaking out. I wanted to lose that weight immediately. But, I finally got to the point where I realized, with clients, I'm like, you have to take things slow. We have this mindset. I understand it. We want results freaking now.
Right.
Like you said, we need to stop and ask ourselves, can I sustain these changes a month from now? Can I keep doing what I'm doing 6 months from now? And like you said, if we can't say yes, then we're doing something wrong. And it's not sexy to do things the slow way. It's not sexy to make one small change. You
can't market that. You're going to look amazing 2 years from now if you follow my plan.
Well, it didn't even have to be that long, but there's nothing sexy about saying, let's make a slow change. We want the sexy, exciting, rapid results. Rip your shirt off tomorrow and have a six-pack. It's the, but it's.
By the way, my computer froze with you ripping your shirt off. It was awesome.
Yes!
No, but the cool thing is, though, about looking good 2 years from now is that usually doesn't happen when you do the 6 weeks to a new you, and then you like go through this. 2 years from now, you might look better at the end of 6 weeks, but you don't look better 2 years from now. So it's like, do this plan and look continuously better. A little bit at a time so that you do, but it's the whole marketing hype of you can make great changes in 12 to 16 weeks. There's no doubt about that. But it's, what's most important, again, is what are you going to be doing 2 years from now, 5 years from now. And that's why all my clients, I had clients that were like, I was crying. I've never had ice cream or wine in a diet plan before or whatever, because they all have the option to have, whatever's important to them, whether it's popcorn or wine or chocolate or ice cream or whatever, like they all have that in their plan, at different times, or the option to have those foods at different times so that they never feel like that it's something that they can't do forever. If someone told me that I could never have chips and queso again, that person would not be my friend, and I would probably never speak to them again. Get out of here. I want nothing to do with that. A life without chips and queso is not a life that I want to live.
Well, like I said, and the great thing about this is that it's about developing habits to where eventually we get to the point where we don't actually have to think about these things. That we just live. We just wake up and we eat if we're hungry, or if you get invited out to a dinner, you don't have to obsess and think over these things. That you can adapt and live life, and you're able to build the body.
I used to be nervous about going out to dinner with people on a Wednesday, because it wasn't a Saturday. I'm like, where are we going to go? And are they going to have this? And are they going to have that? And am I going to be able to get this without, am I going to be able to get this without butter or oil? Or yes, you're going to get it with a side of armpit because the kitchen hates it. Other than that, it'll have no butter, no oil, no nothing, no seasoning. But I used to stress about going out to dinner on a Wednesday. Like, that is silly business. So, okay, have we still only answered one question, or have we answered two?
Actually, you pretty much answered the small change things that I was going to ask you about. And unless there's anything, is there anything else you want to add before I wrap this up?
I love you, Nia Shanks.
I love you too.
I don't know if people realize our history. I first saw Nia on the T-Nation forums of Figure Athlete like a million moons ago, many moons ago. So, and then we met for the first time in 2011. It's been almost 3 years now, and we got all kinds of history. So no, you're one of my favorite people in the whole world, and one of my favorite coaches, strength coaches, and I love what you're doing, and love, again, your sane and sensible approach to everything, and I'm super grateful to have you as a friend, and have you in my network, and to have you reaching all the women that you reach, because it's it's going to take a lot of us to facilitate big changes in the information that's getting out to women. So thank you for having me, and thank you for what you're doing. You
just made my face as red as the walls in your...
Oh, yay!
Well, thank you. And can you please tell us what you're working on right now, or anything exciting you have going on, and definitely where people can check you out because guys, Molly, you heard her talk. She's freaking phenomenal, and I know you already know who she is. Everybody is already following you to every capacity. possible, but just go ahead and tell us, please.
Well, I don't have anything going on. No, I'm just kidding. I've got some projects that I'm working on. Like Nia said, so I've got mollygalbraith.com. I've got some blog posts. I've got a whole list of blog posts that I'm hoping to write for that. But the Love Your Body Challenge, that's you can find that very easily. That started at the beginning of March. I've got I've got so much on my plate. I just started my coaching group, which is fantastic. I'll likely be taking new coaching group people like every 6 months or something like that. So if that's something that people are interested in, they can email me and get on the waiting list for that. Just email me at galbraithonlinecoaching@gmail.com. I'll put you on the waiting list. Girls Gone Strong. Again, we publish 2 new blog posts every week. We have everything from hormones, fat loss, pregnancy stuff, strength training stuff, nutrition. We've got anything and everything about female strength training and nutrition you can find on Girls Gone Strong. We've got Facebook pages for both of those, so girlsgonestrong.com, mollygalbraith.com, Facebook pages for both of those. And then if you're interested in getting on my waiting list for online coaching for next time, it's galbraithonlinecoaching@gmail.com. And I think and I'm on Twitter, and I'm everywhere. I had somebody the other day ask me if I was on Body Space. I'm like, I'm already managing like 9 social media accounts. Please, nothing else. I finally got Girls Gone Strong on Instagram, and some mofo had stolen the name Girls Gone Strong, and they're not even doing anything with it. I'm going to go to their house and beat them up, so I had to be the Girls Gone Strong. So on Instagram, there's some a-hole named Girls Gone Strong who has no pictures and is following like no one. And then there's the Girls Gone Strong, which is the Girls Gone Strong. So you can follow that on Instagram.
We'll put it all below the video so everybody can see.
That sounds good. Oh, and the Modern Woman's Guide to Strength Training, that is on Girls Gone Strong. You can find that, or just go to modernwomanstrength.com. That was a program that we released a couple months ago just to help anyone from beginner to intermediate to high-level intermediate get familiar with intelligent strength training methods. We've got like 4 different levels of programming, 16 weeks each, so it's over a year of programming, 70 minutes of high-definition video. There's all kinds of cool stuff, but it's a really great program for any woman who wants to look better and feel better with minimal time and effort. So
that is awesome. Molly, seriously, thank you. I'm going to have you back on again in the future. You are just an incredible source of knowledge and passion and information. So thank you so much for being with us. You are lovely. Everybody go check out Molly. I'm sure you already are already, but go find her on every resource possible. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Nia. Take care. Bye. Thanks.